morning, adventurers! I just thought today was a great day to kick off the day with the Visitor Center. So here we are at Grand Staircase Escalante Visitor Center, just a little bit away from where we camped last night. Let's go check this out. We've actually been seeing pieces of the Grand Staircase and you might not have known it. As you can see, the visitor center here is a really cool resource. It's not a huge visitor center, but they do have a video, a nice warm fireplace, some great information, and maps. So important to get maps. Now, there were a few things that I was questioning whenever I left my campsite last night. The first of which was, where does this road go? I didn't have signal, and I forgot to download my offline map, which shame on me. But whenever I ended up coming in here, I was able to ask, and come to find out that is part of the Grand Staircase. And if I would have gone there, I could have seen some other cool stuff. However, it also would have gotten a little bit sketchy in my car. I need to find some coffee, guys. Today has started out a little bit of a struggle life. Now let's get back to the 12, because that's where our spots are. There are several different scenic turnouts, and that was the beauty of visiting the visitor center. They told me which ones I have to stop off at and kind of where they're located, so I could kind of have an idea in my head, so I didn't pass them, because they're nothing more than just literally a little boop right off the road. As always at scenic turnouts, we have these signs which tell a little bit more about what we're looking at. And as you can see, oops, what's that? It makes a staircase. This one's interesting because it talks about how the sheep industry was huge here to the point of overgrazing. But that's enough of that. Let's just get to the views, because that's why you're really here. You'll want to see the views. Number 2, this was another recommended one, and I can see why. We've been climbing and climbing and climbing, and we have reached the summit of this mountain, which is at 7,600 feet. This area really reminds me a lot of the Painted Desert, how the colors filter down and how you have some areas that are completely a different color than others. Down here. Okay guys, I think this is as far as we're going to go down because it's starting to get a little bit slippery with the rocks. But wow! It's amazing. You can see like the gray-blue color coming out in the mountains in person. It looks a little bit more brown on video, but it is definitely like this grayish blue, and it's gorgeous. And throughout the day, as it casts shadows, you get to see different colors come through in the rock. It almost looks like a soft texture that you could pet, but of course we all know that you can't pet it, it's rock. And then over here, it almost looks like a muddy texture, but it's not. Again, it's this. It's just a smoothed out version of this. See what I'm talking about? Very smooth. Something else you should know about this area, it has a very rich history in fossil finding. They have found everything from dinosaur bones to ancient alligators to crazy things that they can't really figure out exactly why it would be here. But you can see that there's plenty of area to uncover all sorts of things. The landscape through this corridor is amazing, and I can see now why it's a scenic route that most people enjoy taking. There's just so many different things throughout. Like the mountain in front of me has one single white band going through it. Like, that's really, really intense. It makes you want to know what made that one band white out of all of the rest of the mountain.
Have you any idea why?
Okay, we're gonna stop off at another visitor center, but this is the BLM, Bureau of Land Management Visitor Center. Completely different than the last one we went to. And right off the top, I see something we didn't see anything like at the other visitor center. Look at this guy. He's huge. Oh, one of the things that's really unique to this area is they have something called the Great Basin Collared Lizard. It's a western species of the collared lizard. Toward the east of the Mississippi, they have a different one that's called the eastern collared lizard, and it's really bright colors, so it's like green and yellow. This guy is brown and just acts a little bit different. So they have a whole display here along with two different signs talking about how this guy is awesome in his own way. Seen one of these, not the paper mache. He has 4 horns.
1, 2, and 3, 4.
He's called the Diablo Ceratops. So I love the bold colors that they used. You know I like some colors. And then on the bottom, they actually have this little plate that they can pick up with these handles. Good job, guys. Okay, so this is the movie room where you can come in, and they also do lectures here. But there is a second dinosaur. This one is a little bit different though, because inside he has a little cutout where a person can be. What is it that Adam Sandler says?
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Yeah, he looks kind of angry. Now, this section of the museum is divided up into 3 sections. You have living, growing, and then over here is ancient. And each one of them has a 3-area display. So you can actually look at the centerpiece and then check out more detail on each one of these 3 prongs. Okay, so this one is a model of sand particles, 90 times magnified. This is what it would look like if you were able to look at a single strand of sand. That's kind of a tongue twister. Strand of sand, strand of sand. On the last of the 3 sections on each board, they have this little flip book that tells about whatever we're looking at. I thought this was really cool. They actually are trying to reintroduce the bighorn sheep to this area because in the 19th and 20th century, their habitat changed so much that they couldn't inhabit this area anymore. So now they're allowing a few in, and they're using these little collars to see where they go, where they thrive, things like that. And I think that that's awesome. Bug collections. Hard time, guys. I think that this one is fitting of what we've seen so far. While I was inside, I went ahead and picked up my postcard and a couple of other pieces of information for a little bit later down the road. Now, I have a goal in mind. Don't know if we're gonna accomplish it, but we're gonna try. But until then, there's some more stuff out here that we definitely need to check out. This is an amazing sign for preparedness. Are you ready? These are the questions it asks. What type of vehicle are you driving? How much time do you have? Are you prepared for the wild landscape? What is the weather forecast? Now, the reason why these things are so important is because, well, we've encountered things about all of them. So, number 1, what type of vehicle are we driving? Whenever I was in Washington, because I was in a smaller car, there were several places I wanted to camp, but I couldn't make it there because the roads were too bumpy. That applies to here as well. So, I usually have been asking, can I make it? The end. How much time do you have? Another big thing. If you have a day or a week, it's definitely going to impact how you plan your trip. You might be able to do some longer hikes if you have more time, but if you're here just for a short time, they usually have some things planned for just the 1 to 2 hour time frame. And you can ask inside, or apparently check out these down here to plan your adventure. Number 3. Are you prepared for the wild landscape? Now, typically you're supposed to have 1 liter of water per mile that you'll be hiking, but if you're going to be driving through any of the desertous mountains, you need to have more than that. They recommend 1 gallon of water per mile. This one, what is the weather forecast? Monsoon season is real, but it's not the only time that they get some crazy weather. There is no way of predicting if it's going to have a fluke snowstorm. So be aware, find local radio stations, always check into visitor centers, and look for road conditions also. I love that at this center they go into a little bit more detail even if they are closed. So outside you have this case which tells you if there's a flash flood risk, if there's a heat advisory, if there's fire danger, and if anything happens to be closed or have limited access. That is so helpful because there have been a few places that I've gone that I wish they had something like that, and all they had was a little Smokey out there saying moderate risk of forest fires. Now that we've checked out all the conditions, it's time for us to sit and think about where we're going next and how we're getting there. I always like to download the offline maps because, well, let's face it, in the mountains we haven't had the best of service. I'm going to go ahead and download Google Maps, like the offline maps for the area. I found that Google Maps are far more efficient than doing an Apple map because once you start losing your signal, Apple Maps start going a little glitchy. The gremlin comes out and you end up in places that aren't necessarily the right place. For this next scenic turnout, we are at Hole in the Rock Trail, which was actually a wagon trail that was created in order for people to get from Cedar City to Escalante. Now, in places, this trail was crazy steep. Like, we're not talking about the roads that we go down today. They're like 8% grade. No. We're looking at like 25 to 45% drop off grade, and they're doing this in a wagon. Wow. I can't imagine. This was the little path that they took right here though. And as you can see, it's a little crazy. Now there is a road called Hole in the Rock Road, which takes you to the Hole in the Rock formation. But they did not recommend that I go down there with a low clearance vehicle because, well, there's some places that have some pretty bad washing right now. So, unfortunately, because I'm in the Roadrunner, we won't be able to make that today. You know me, guys, I would normally just gut it out and go, but after this trip, the poor Roadrunner has seen better days.
Have you any idea why?
Wind is just getting up so much, but I wanted to share a couple of facts that I learned at this little spot right here. The Grand Staircase Escalante is 1.9 million acres. That is so massive. From this point, you can see all the way into Arizona. Yeah, so we're in Utah and you can see all the way into Arizona. And then there's a road, in fact, the road that we're about to get back on. And that road was actually created as a part of a CCC effort way back between the 20s and the 40s to create jobs and to also help with bringing things across this area, because this is still considered to be a frontier to some extent even today. So this road has been so crucial in being able to transport goods in this area of the state. I just think that that's awesome to know, but so insane to think that even though we're here and we're exploring and they found all these cool things, there's so many areas that are still uncharted in this park. They haven't fully dug down. They haven't found all the fossils. There's so many things waiting to be discovered. Now, with that being said, if you discover something, you can't keep it. You have to tell them you discovered it. Keep that in mind. It's only a a couple of miles from the last spot that we pulled off, this viewpoint offers those signature red rocks again. And as you can see, this one right here, I'm actually standing on. And if you're not feeling as adventurous as me, that's okay. Just by coming up a few feet here, I can see this entire side of this mountain, and it looks kind of like bacon. Something that is a little bit weird about this stop though, as you can see, there's little lines right there, and I can hear them humming. I don't know how I feel about that.
Did he tell me why? Has anybody told you why?
As you can see, there are a lot of winding twists and turns along this road. The speed limit around here is about 25 miles an hour for the most part. However, in the flat areas, you can go about 60. Now, I can't even begin to do this part of the trip justice. Let me just tell you what we're going to be looking at, and then I'll show you instead. The highway on both sides is built up almost like a spine or a backbone, and on both sides you see all of the amazing mountains and canyons and everything. And so we're about to get out and just check it out because it's too epic to miss.
Have you any idea why?
Right here, guys, and that's where we just were, and then all of this.
Did he tell me why? Has anybody told you why?
Because you're mine. I walk the line.
Let's get out of the highway, guys. It's like Frogger out here.